You're watching All 24 News World News Program. Next up are the headlines. Trump says he might use military force on Iran. Tehran warns of a tough surprise response, while Washington offers 5 ways to stop the war in the Middle East. Also coming up, Algeria holds talks with Congo to strengthen relations. It also reaffirms cooperation with Mozambique. Meanwhile, a Niger delegation trains on drilling in Hassi Massoud, south of Algeria. The Polisario Front calls the autonomy proposal colonialism and apartheid and insists on a referendum. The African Commission, for its part, calls for an end to the occupation of Western Sahara. The details are straight ahead. Welcome back. First off, in our news tonight, US President Donald Trump has once again threatened military escalation against Iran. On Saturday evening, Trump posted a photo on his Truth Social platform showing warships at sea, including one flying the Iranian flag, with the caption, "The calm before the storm." Trump had earlier warned Iran of what he called a very bad time if no agreement is reached. Meanwhile, the New York Times quoted officials as saying Washington is preparing for the possibility of resuming military operations against Iran as early as next week. The Iranian military asserted that Tehran will respond with overwhelming force if US President Donald Trump carries out his threats against Iran. Iranian Armed Forces spokesman said any repeat of what he called Washington's foolishness to make up for its failures in war would face a strong response. He added that any US move against Iran would expose American interests and forces linked to Washington to what he described as surprise attack scenarios. Iran's Fars news agency, citing informed sources, said Washington outlined 5 conditions in response to Iran's proposal for a permanent ceasefire, new talks, and a nuclear settlement. The reported terms included 1 compensation payments, the transfer of 400 kilograms of uranium to the U.S., and the withholding of up to 25% of Iran's frozen assets. Washington also said only 1 set of Iranian nuclear facilities would remain operational. Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif said he is optimistic about a possible second round of direct US-Iran talks, expressing hope that current efforts could lead to lasting peace. In an interview with the Sunday Times, Sharif said Islamabad continues to relay messages between Washington and Tehran, despite the first round ending with no breakthrough. He added that peace is never easily achieved, stressing Pakistan's efforts to facilitate further negotiations, including the possibility of hosting a new round in Islamabad. Ibrahim Azizi, head of Iran's National Security Committee, said Iran will soon unveil a mechanism to manage maritime traffic in the Strait of Hormuz through a designated route. Right on an X platform, he said the route would exclude operators linked to what he called Project Freedom. He added the system would apply only to commercial vessels and partners cooperating with Iran, with Iran set to charge fees for the services provided.
As part of exercising its national sovereignty and ensuring the security of international trade, Iran has put in place a professional mechanism to regulate maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz along a designated route, the details of which will be announced soon. Under this arrangement, only commercial vessels and parties cooperating with Iran will be permitted to use this mechanism. Fees will be charged for the specialized services Iran will provide along this route. The corridor will remain closed to parties involved in what Iran describes as the so-called Freedom Project.
Still with the Middle East developments, one person was killed in a Zionist occupation airstrike on Sunday in the town of Sahara in the Tyre district of South Lebanon. Several paramedics were also injured after a health center in Tyre Deba in the same governorate was targeted, with rescue operations still underway, according to the Lebanese National News Agency. 5 Palestinians were killed and others wounded in Zionist occupation airstrikes on the Gaza Strip on Sunday. Medical sources said 3 were killed and several injured, some critically, after a food distribution center near the Aqsa Martyrs Hospital was struck. In northern Gaza Strip, 2 others were killed and around 5 wounded when a vehicle was hit on a Shifa street in Gaza City. For many Gazans, the sea is now a true mental escape. Hundreds of families gather alongside the coast with their families or with their children and friends, seeking brief relief from displacement and harsh living conditions that have marked daily life for over 2 years. Karim Mustafa with more now.
In the Gaza Strip, the sea has become more than just a refuge for the exhausted souls. For children and adults alike, it is one of the few remaining places where they can breathe, swim, and find a fragile moment of peace. But just beyond the coastline, the scale of devastation caused by the Zionist entity is impossible to ignore. Ruined buildings and endless rows of makeshift tents sheltering thousands of displaced families.
God has blessed the people of Gaza with the sea. When I come to the beach and breathe the air of Gaza and the water of Gaza's beach, I feel like I'm going back in time. This is our sea and our land. Our house is barely 20 square meters. There is no room to breathe. Here, surrounded by nature, we can spend an hour or 2. The air is softer and we feel better. We can talk with our friends and loved ones here by the sea.
However, behind the smiles and the sound of children playing lies a deep and unspoken grief.
Our life is torture, filled with worry and pain. Before we loved the sea and enjoyed it, but today we strive for happiness, in vain. When you see people here, they seem to be having fun. But deep down, that's not the case, because we are far from home and our dead loved ones.
Even in the shadow of destruction, people in Gaza hold on to a deeper hope that one day life in their land will no longer be defined by endurance alone, but by dignity, stability, and the possibility of a future beyond survival.
Turning to other news now, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune called for faster implementation of strategic projects to support a diversified emerging economy. At a cabinet meeting, he reviewed key mining and railway projects tied to the Bled al-Hadba phosphate site and Annaba port, urging acceleration of related public works. He also pushed for rapid development of the petrochemical sector to boost local production and cut imports, and ordered expanded exploitation of phosphate resources. On water management, he directed wider network coverage across all municipalities and stronger measures to reduce distribution losses. Algerian President Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune received Iranian Ambassador Mohammad Reza Babai on Sunday for a farewell visit at the end of his mission in Algeria. The meeting was also attended by Minister of State in charge of the General Inspectorate of State Services and Local Authorities Brahim Mered and Presidential Advisor for Diplomatic Affairs Ammar Abba, according to a statement from the presidency.
اليوم بلقاء فخامة الرئيس الجمهورية السيد عبد المجيد تبون.
I had the honor today of meeting His Excellency the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, and I also stand before you at this final moment of my diplomatic mission in Algeria after a period marked by shared hope and constructive cooperation between our two countries. I would like to express to His Excellency my sincere thanks and appreciation for the warm welcome and attention I have received since the beginning of my work as ambassador to this sisterly country, the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. Algeria has been for me a truly special country, distinguished by its generous people, its deep-rooted history, its rich culture, and the spirit of solidarity with the Iranian people that I have felt everywhere I went. During my mission, I have worked diligently to strengthen the bonds of friendship and cooperation between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria across various fields, from enhancing political relations and expanding economic cooperation to boosting parliamentary ties and promoting cultural and tourism opportunities. I am proud of what we have achieved together in terms of shared initiatives and accomplishments and the progress and growth witnessed in the relations between our two countries.
On Sunday, Algerian President Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune met with Congolese Foreign Minister Constant Serge Banda and his delegation. The meeting included Minister of State Ibrahim Mourad and Minister of State and Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf and Presidential Advisor for Diplomatic Affairs Ammar Abba. After the meeting, the Congolese Foreign Minister said he came bearing an important message from Congo's President Denis Sassou Nguesso to President of the Republic Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune about issues of common interest in both countries. Algerian Minister of State and Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf received his Congolese counterpart Foreign Minister Constant Serge Banda, who was on an official visit carrying a written message to President of the Republic Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune from President Denis Sassou Nguesso. Minister Attaf congratulated his Congolese counterpart on his recent appointment and reviewed bilateral ties focusing on ways to strengthen cooperation in key sectors, including energy, mining, agriculture, air transport, and higher education. Algerian National People's Assembly Speaker Ibrahim Boughali received Mozambican Parliament President Margarida Adamugi Talapa and her delegation on Sunday. Boughali praised the growing momentum in bilateral ties, noting the outcomes of the Mozambican President's 2025 visit to Algeria. He stressed efforts to align economic cooperation with strong political relations, calling for expanded partnership in energy, agriculture, research, vocational training, and fisheries. He also reaffirmed Algeria's readiness to support Mozambique through training and education programs, including scholarships. For her part, Mozambican Parliament President Margarida Adamugi Talapa praised Algeria's role in supporting just African causes and liberation movements. She expressed her country's interest in strengthening cooperation with Algeria in education, health, energy, and training, as well as in benefiting from Algeria's experience, particularly in counter-terrorism efforts and promoting development and stability.
كما شددنا كذلك على الحرص على تكثيف التنسيق البرلماني وتعزيز التشاور داخل المحافل البرلمانية الإقليمية والدولية.
We also emphasize the importance of intensifying parliamentary coordination and strengthening consultation within regional and international parliamentary forums in service of just African causes. During our discussions, we noted an exchange of views between our two countries on various just causes in Africa and the world, foremost among them the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination in accordance with international law and the UN Charter, reflecting both countries' commitment to the principles of decolonization and respect for the rights of peoples.
Mozambique's parliament chief says her country wants Algerian expertise to boost development. She also called for African unity and rejected foreign interference in African affairs. Let's take a listen again.
This visit is of great importance to us because of its historical ties that unite our two countries. Algeria has always supported Mozambique in its struggle for independence, and afterward many professionals received their training here in Algeria. During our meeting, we reviewed the current situation and examined the economic and political relations between our two countries. We informed our Algerian friends that, as we did in the past, we wish to seek Algerian assistance for economic development. We Africans must unite and not allow foreign interference. We concluded our discussions by thanking the President of the Algerian Republic for everything he has done for both the Algerian people and the Mozambican people.
A delegation of executives and engineers from Niger's Ministry of Petroleum has concluded a working visit to several training and production facilities of Algeria's Sonatrach Group. The visit to Hassi Massoud highlighted Sonatrach's role as a major energy player with a growing African footprint and its contribution to continental energy integration through investment. Zafar Jani has the story in this report now.
On the second day of their field visit to Hassim Saud, the Nigerian delegation, made up of officials and engineers from the Ministry of Petroleum, continued its tour of Algeria's main oil production hub. The visit provided an inside look at the daily operations behind the country's energy sector, where activities are carried out with a high level of technical precision and operational efficiency. The delegation toured several specialized facilities and closely followed the workflow inside drilling and well services units. They observed how heavy machinery and advanced monitoring systems work together to maintain production and ensure smooth operations across the site.
As part of the cooperation relations between Algeria and the sister Republic of Niger, we're honored today to host a delegation from the Ministry of Petroleum and the company Solida. This visit falls within the framework of bilateral relations and Algeria's support for Niger in developing oil field services, starting with the Kafra project. There are also plans to further develop services more broadly.
The team was also introduced to a range of supporting well services, including stimulation operations, oil well cementing, and other specialized technical interventions. The visit highlighted ongoing efforts to improve productivity, strengthen operational performance, and continuously modernize the sector. The Nigerian delegation wrapped up its visit to Algeria in a positive atmosphere after completing a second field tour in Hassim Saud, where members gained first-hand insight into the operational activities taking place at one of the country's key energy centers.
During this mission, which began on May 9, 2026, we held working sessions with several entities affiliated with the Sonatrach Group, which I would say once again is no longer just an Algerian national company, but can today be regarded as an African company thanks to its extensive expertise and highly qualified workforce. Sonatrach contributes in many ways to strengthening Africa's pride and dignity and demonstrates what the African continent is truly capable of achieving in the field of hydrocarbon exploitation and valorization.
The delegation, Sonatrach represents more than just a national energy company. It reflects an African energy player whose expertise and experience contribute to stronger cooperation and knowledge sharing across the continent's hydrocarbons industry.
Farid Derbal, the head of Algeria's National Well Services Company, says his technical teams will soon start operations at the Kafra oil field in northern Niger. He added that equipment and logistical supplies will begin moving very soon to Qanat near the border to get ready for technical work in the field.
Starting with the works that will be carried out at the Kafra field, which is located near the Algerian border, around 80 kilometers from Qanat, preparations are set to begin around June 1st. We will start transferring equipment to the Qanat border point, and operations are expected to officially begin, God willing, around July 4th, 2026. This project will be carried out in coordination with another subsidiary of the Sonatrach Group, namely Anfor, which will oversee all drilling operations. As for the remaining oil field services, they will be handled by the units of UNSP and its subsidiaries, including ALSIF, VFSP, and GHSP.
Moving on to a different story now, the Polisario Front said Morocco's so-called autonomy plan for Western Sahara is a recycling of colonialism and apartheid. At the 87th session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights in the Gambia, Sahrawi Foreign Minister Mohamed Yeslam Baysat said the crimes of the Moroccan occupation amount to genocide.
In 2007, Morocco presented what it called the Autonomy Plan, which is essentially a recycling of the colonial model that the French once tried to impose on Algerians under the so-called Constantine Plan, and which Algerians rejected. It is also a revival of the old colonial approach that the apartheid regime attempted to promote in South Africa through the Battistan system. The underlying idea is that Sahrawi are supposedly not fully capable of managing their own rights, and therefore should only be granted part of these rights, as if they were somehow less entitled than other peoples to fully exercise their political rights. Within the Polisario Front, we have a major issue with this way of thinking, because it undermines the ability of peoples to choose their own future.
The Sahrawi Foreign Minister flatly rejected any solution to the conflict other than a free and fair referendum on self-determination.
As the two parties to the conflict, we must strive to explore every possible political solution. However, the final decision ultimately belongs to the Sahrawi people, through enabling them to exercise their sacred right to free choice and to express their opinions and will in complete freedom. Only then can this conflict truly be resolved.
The African Commission on Human and People's Rights called for an end to the Moroccan occupation of Western Sahara. In a briefing in Banjul, the Commission's rapporteur reaffirmed Western Sahara's legal status as a decolonization issue, stressing that it must be resolved in line with the African Union Charter and the people's or Sahrawi people's right to self-determination. Russia said it was hit by its largest Ukrainian drone attack in 4 years, involving more than 500 drones, with at least 4 people killed in the Moscow region. Moscow region governor said a woman was killed northwest of Moscow, while 2 other men were killed northeast of the capital. He added that 4 others were injured. The Russian Defense Ministry said air defenses shot down 556 drones over 14 regions, including more than 80 over Moscow. In the Belgorod region, 1 person was also killed in a separate drone strike on the truck. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Air Force said it intercepted 279 Russian drones out of 287 launched overnight. The World Health Organization has declared a public health emergency of international concern over the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. In a post on X platform, the WHO said Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus determined that the outbreak caused by the Bundibugyo virus meets the criteria for a PHEIC, but no pandemic emergency. The agency said the declaration aims to alert neighboring countries and mobilize international support. And before we wrap up, and following Algiers' continental triumph, the capital saw a night marked by widespread public festivities in an exceptional atmosphere. Safian Kinto reports now.
الجزائر تحيا الجزائر في فالي اسماء وراكم لينا وثلاثة ما شاء الله.
Celebrations swept through the historic Sahara district in central Algiers after USM Algiers secured another continental title, winning their 2nd CAF Confederation Cup and 3rd African trophy overall, including the CAF Super Cup. Supporters gathered across the capital to follow the decisive moment of the final, with tension and anticipation building until the last whistle.
The team was united and the fans were exceptional. With USMA's supporters, there is always more success to come. Winning the titles has become a habit for us now, and no one can stop us.
As soon as victory was confirmed, thousands of fans poured into the streets. Fireworks lit up the sky in the club's red and black colors, while chants, flags and car horns echoed throughout Algiers as celebrations continued late into the night. We thank the players for making us proud and bringing us joy. To come back with a title from there, you truly have to be USMA. For many supporters, the title represents more than a sporting achievement. It is another milestone in the club's continental history and a source of pride for Algerian football.
And that brings us to the end of our news program. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great night.